Let's dive into some of the specifics and let's discuss the value of data and the technology. So I would like to split the discussion into several pieces that I think are important for us to understand why I think blockchain is inevitable. And I don't think anybody needs to be convinced that artificial intelligence is something that is going to be happening because it's already happening as well as blockchain. But I think that the value of AI is a little bit better understood and the value of blockchain is still a little bit more arcane in nature. So let's talk a little bit about the value of information, the raw data value. And then let's take a look at the technologies, the blockchain technology, the AI technology. And I would like to split our discussion into two components. One is the actual algorithm, kind of similar to cryptography. Kind of the strength of cryptography is not the secrecy of the algorithm. The cryptographic strength is specifically sitting in the strength of the key. And so everybody knows about algorithms that constitute the bulk of the public key infrastructure. But it's the strength is sitting in the keys. Now, a little bit similar deal with artificial intelligence. Everybody knows the algorithms. The algorithms are in the open. Most of the algorithms are actually open source. So it's really not a big problem to basically take a very powerful artificial neural network off the shelf or a decision tree building algorithm off the shelf and deploy it on a powerful computing platform. Details, however, are where the actual value is, right? So the deployment process, how do you actually prepare the data for the algorithm that you are using is the key issue, and that's where the value of artificial intelligence is. There's one more component, probably the most important one, is it's the people, it's the human resources, but I would like to set this aside for a separate discussion because obviously preparing people to deal with those complex technologies, blockchain by no means is something that is a walk in the park, and artificial intelligence by no means is something that can be picked up in one class or in one online course. Preparing the qualified group of people who are able to kind of manage effectively those technologies is perhaps the hardest problem. But in this talk I would like to focus on the technological issues and the computing platforms that are essential for the whole thing to make sense. So let's take a look at information. What is new or what is different comparing to, let's say, the situation 10 or 20 years ago is that there is an abundance of multimodal data. So let's, for example, take a look at a case and you are collecting information about that person. So what can we collect? Well, we can collect emails. So if you are using one of the typical email providers, that information is stored somewhere. We can collect voice messages. Right? So perhaps, I'm not sure if it's going on, but it's certainly possible that, let's say, phone calls are recorded. So it's certainly technically possible. We can collect information about multimedia data that they produce. So for example, images, right? So a lot of people upload pictures that they took to social media. Those pictures are probably stored and associated with accounts. Obviously we can collect video. We can collect structured information like, for example, medical records. We can collect information from personal trackers. So if you have one of those fancy smartphones, chances are that there's a GPS on the smart mobile device that will record our positions, where we were, how did we travel, in what way, whether we've been walking or going by car, that kind of thing. So there is a lot of information that can be combined, and it's a multimodal information. So it's very important for a lot of corporations to extract that information and put it together. So, for example, if you are looking a certain way, in a picture, perhaps you look tired, perhaps you look stressed out. By the way, there is research that enables AIs to actually extract that kind of information from a picture. And you can combine that with medical records, and you can combine that with information about how we live, whether we are active or perhaps not so much, what kind of products we are buying, let's say for food. This whole picture gives a lot of information, can be turned into knowledge, can be turned into user models. So it's important to realize that it's not just emails, it's not just medical data alone that is important. A lot of times it's the combination of multiple sources of data that provides the real power and can tell us a lot about what we do, how we live, and perhaps it can tell us a lot about very important things. Let's say our health, our possibility for success in life, whether we are interested in certain careers versus other careers, what are our possible preferences in terms of buying things. So if you think about it, there's hundreds of businesses that are very interested in those kind of inferences from multimodal data that is collected. Now, from the consumer point of view, from the average citizen point of view, this is a little bit troubling because in most cases that data is available without our consent. And even if there is some consent that we've given, it's usually in the format of a small print, long form that we are filling out perhaps online, and after 5 screens scrolling down, we just click on the checkbox, yes, I agree, and that's it. And in a way, that is very troubling because this is a very important thing, and it shouldn't be hidden from an average user because perhaps this could be one of the major income streams for the majority of people who are very active online, who are producing a lot of data, and perhaps they should be taking advantage of that data.